Welcome, everybody, to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LaBerge Casino. Ronnie Rance here with you alongside Tommy Krysan. TK is over at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen this morning. I'm coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios, where this Sunday, Tommy, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Selection Committee, this coming Sunday over in the Lafayette area, is going to pick the 2024 class. That'll be 40-member committee. We'll announce that probably sometime mid-September, the class, but going to be a special class. I know a couple of first-time ballot folks, big names are going to be on there, but that'll be this Sunday. And we're presented by LaBerge Casino, which is where we will be on Saturday for Sports Shorts Radio for Saturday from 10 to noon. Looking forward to getting in those futures bets for the upcoming year. Whether it be NFL, college football, you name it. Hunter McCann, myself, and TK will be there this Saturday morning from 10 to noon, getting in those futures bets. All right, let's talk a little bit about sports over the weekend. Of course, locally, LSU football. As you pick up your 225 magazine, I did this as well. Transfer Tigers. That you could say that is the theme of every sport in college, not just football. Transfer Tigers in every sport, including baseball, which they have a press conference today at noon. We'll talk a lot about baseball on Wednesday as we get some information from Coach Jay Johnson. He introduced the staff. He'll talk about the transfer portal and everything like that. But that's the new world we live in, and LSU football, of course, is one of the teams that's excelling. Now, over the weekend, they had their alumni weekend. We saw many pictures come out from over the weekend of a lot of great former players getting together for the alumni Saturday scrimmage. They were invited to watch practice. They were invited to go to the scrimmage in Tiger Stadium. And LSU did they kind of shrunk their scrimmage a little bit, huh, Tommy?
Yeah, they were going to go 60 to 70 plays, and apparently they practiced, worked out, whatever. Great to have all the former Tiger players in the building. And then they went approximately 40 plays, a few less than the original plan. And two things. One, Denver Harris was out there, as we talked about on Sports Shorts Radio Saturday morning. And then Caleb Jackson, a freshman running back. The running back room pretty loaded.
Deep. Yeah.
Pretty deep, loaded. A lot of really good running backs. He caught a screen pass for a 75-yard touchdown, had a nice run on an 18-yard touchdown, and that was that. And that was, quote-unquote, the end of fall camp. So, now the actual preparations for Florida State, probably putting more offense, putting more defense, probably a little more emphasis on special teams. All of that will kick in because, Ronnie, it's less than 2 weeks when the Tigers play Florida State. They're the 2.5-point favorite in Orlando on a Sunday night, September 3, over and under 56.5. So we're getting close.
Yeah, I think of 43 plays or something like that officially is what they did. It was good to see Denver Harris out there. Now, listen, who knows if he's going to be able to stay out there. This is the young man that had troubles at A&M to transfer to LSU. He was out for 7 days. He wasn't in the team photo, but we know that the secondary room is very shallow. He took some snaps with the second and third team in the scrimmage. No doubt he's a guy who, if he's healthy and if he can stay out of trouble, is going to play a lot for LSU. So good to have him. They just need the depth. I mean, regardless of what you think of the young man and what some of the decisions he's made, there was a good deal. There's been a few different rotations with the LSU secondary, primarily Alexander, Chestnut, and Chestnut have received the first team snaps. Stamps and Welch are running as the number 3 and 4 guys, but obviously with Denver Harris in the mix, all of that, if he can stay out there, all of that could get mixed up a little bit. Offensive line-wise, the only real shakeup that LSU had in the scrimmage was it was a different offensive line group than what they've seen on the fall camp. They put the 5-star freshman Zalance Hurd. He got some opportunity to run with the first-team group and play some Miles Frazier. Then they put Miles Frazier back in there a little bit. So that was a shakeup. Ben Bordelon's son, continues to run with the second team. And as we mentioned earlier, the secondary shuffling, cornerback Zy Alexander was with the first team. Quarterback Sage Ryan was in there. Greg Brooks was the nickel. Safety Andre Sam and safety Major Burns. Deuce Chestnut mostly worked with the ones as well. So that was kind of your first team group for LSU. Interesting that came out. Mark Schlaubaugh of ESPN, he picked LSU to win the West. He picked Harold Perkins to be the defensive player of the year. He picked Brian Kelly to be the coach of the year, but he did pick Georgia to win the SEC and to knock off LSU and Atlanta. But he's got them going 11-1. He picked the non-conference game of the year as the first one, LSU, Florida State, and Orlando. And he picked the conference game of the year as LSU at Alabama the first week in November. So Tigers getting a lot of love. We kind of expected that. Although they were picked by the media that covers the SEC at media days to finish second in the West.
Yeah, well, the media day predictions, the track record is not real sporty there. But, LSU's on that weekend, Labor Day weekend, which is coming up, LSU's the only team playing another ranked team, obviously playing Florida State. So, a lot of high expectations, a lot of national publicity for LSU. Mark Schlaubaugh has been a writer for a long time, and he's all about college football. And it doesn't surprise me to see him pick that. I mean, I'm high on LSU as well. I got a podcast coming up next week when I'll have my predictions on that. But, it goes with the territory and what Brian Kelly has accomplished in his first year last season. This is a different year. But I don't know, man. You can get 7 points in the Tigers in Tuscaloosa if you make that bet now at the Barstool Sportsbook. So that might be a real good one. I will say this. I don't think that's going to be a 7-point line when we get to game time.
Yeah, probably would be surprised if it was a 7-point line. And if LSU goes out and takes care of business against Florida State and, wins by double digits, let's say, then that line's going to go down. So and you definitely should, if you want to get your best value, go ahead and roll the dice and be a gambler now. Let's talk a little Saints. Saints won 22-17. This was a game that we did not think was going to happen. Joel Davis predicted on Saturday this game on Sports Shorts Radio. You agreed with him. Y'all did not think the game was going to happen in Los Angeles between the Saints and the Chargers, but in fact they did. They played the preseason game, small crowd, but hey, all those people that bought tickets, they got their money. They get to hold on to the money. All those suite holders, they get to hold on to the money. So it's a win for the owners. That's why they play these preseason games primarily, because you could just scrimmage and stuff like that. But Saints won, but it wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't. And first thing, I really thought they'd cancel the game, especially because Major League Baseball and Major League Soccer both got away from the Sunday late afternoon, evening games. Now, there is a roof at SoFi Stadium. That may have been the difference with the baseball. Roof-ish, yeah. Not a dome. There's a roof, okay? Big, big difference. It's like having an indoor facility to hit baseballs or just have the cover. You're still going to get wet. You're going to get the wind, whatever. But, Ronnie, the thing that jumps out about the Saints, yeah, they won. That's cute. They're 2-0 in the preseason for the first time since 2014. It was 14 penalties. Last year, the Saints were the 12th most penalized team in the NFL. 14 penalties against the Chargers. Last week, it gives them a 2-week total of 23 penalties for 220 yards if you count the game against the Chiefs and the game against the Chargers. So here's the thing. Penalties are something that happened in preseason that you got to clean up, but they were the 12th most penalized team last year in the league out of 32 teams. So therefore, they've canceled the joint practices with the Houston Texans that were scheduled for Metairie Thursday and Friday. They'll still play the Texans Sunday in the Dome, final preseason game. But, man, I almost think they would have been better off doing them the joint practices with some referees out there, because that's way too many penalties. Now, Dennis Allen knows that. Everybody knows that. But you got to really – penalties are – some penalties are going to happen, and you don't have a problem with certain penalties. But you can't have 14 of them now. Most of the Saints' number one players who are less likely to have a flag thrown on them were not on the field because they did the joint practices. So maybe that contributed a little bit, that you had a lot of guys out there that penalty flags were thrown on who might not be on the final roster. But it's something maybe keep an eye on for the Saints, especially against the Texans. And who knows what they play there. I don't know if Derek Carr plays or what. So, but the bottom line is they won. The coaching staff probably learned something about a bunch of players that they wanted to learn certain things about. So we'll just have to see as they, next week they got to get down to 50. What is a 55-man roster, 53 of which would be active, and then 48 of those guys can dress out on a Sunday. So there's a lot of guys that'll be gone.
So, it's interesting that they decided to cancel the scrimmages, because if you talk to most coaches, and of course the Texans agreed, but if you talk to most coaches, they like the practices and the scrimmages better than the games. They feel like they get more value, get more out of it. And so I don't know what we can read into it. My first initial just takeaway is that they feel like they know what their roster is, right? There must not be that many decisions for them to make, because they feel like they kind of already know what they know. They probably called the Texans, and the Texans either agreed with them or not. But the bottom line is that you schedule these, and by the way, the Saints and Texans do play each other during the regular season, but they, you scheduled this a long time ago. It didn't surprise you. So I'm love to know the E Hollywood's true story behind the scenes as to why this got canceled.
Yeah, I'm curious to know that as well. But I think you hit the nail on the head. They kind of know the roster. There's maybe one or two guys they're not sure about. Well, they'll figure that out this week, and maybe this coming Sunday against the Texans, So, but no, I've read the same thing you've read. A lot of these coaches really get a lot out of these joint practices, and it happens league-wide. I mean, it became chic many years ago when some teams would do it. Now they all do it. But then the wrinkle is the Saints and the Texans have a first-year coach. You would think, it's a new coaching staff with D'Amico Ryans as the head coach, and they got a lot of rookies, a lot of young guys on the field. You would think that they would have wanted it, but didn't work that way. And maybe because they play in the regular season could be a factor in canceling these joint practices too, because as we know, it's all about the regular season.
Winston went the first half. Haener went the second half. They both had a little bit of a mixed bag, did some highlight things. Miller for TCU, the TCU running back, has been impressive in camp. We're going to see a lot of him, of course. A lot more of him than we would have had Kamara not been going to miss the first 3 games of the year. Let's talk a little baseball for a minute. Some news we'll talk more baseball Wednesday morning on the Sports Shorts Daily, but some news to pass along. Dylan Cruz promoted to Double-A. He was the player of the week in his league in his first week of minor league baseball over in A-ball. And then also newsworthy, Hayden Travinski going to wear the number 8 jersey for LSU baseball this coming year. That's a surprise.
Yeah, it is a little bit. But first, Dylan Cruz, the old saying was, Ronnie, if a team puts you in Double-A, they think you have major league potential. Okay. If you sit down in rookie ball at low A or high A, they haven't seen everything they need to see yet. Now, Cruz is an exception to that rule, because I think the day they drafted him, they hoped he'd be a major leaguer, just don't know the day that he'd make his debut. But great to see him climb the ladder. And I'll predict that if he does very well in Double-A, very well according to their standards, he'll be a September call-up for the Washington Nationals and play big league baseball, because they're not going to be in the postseason. So they may bring him up, no pressure other than to just go play some baseball. Yeah, LSU baseball, Jay Johnson with the press conference today. At 12 noon, going to talk about the incoming players, his coaching staff, and as you said, Hayden Travinski, guy who got hot in the second half of the season this year. I mean, he's a key reason they won a national championship, because he flat out hit the heck out of the ball and had some great at-bats. He'll wear number 8, the tradition that began, I guess, with Mikey Matuk back in the day, and it's a special thing of who wears number 8 for LSU baseball, and Travinski's going to be that guy.
Well, I'm going to ask Jay today at the press conference if they do it the same way they always did. But in the past, the person who wore number 8 was the person who picked who's going to wear it next year. It was a situation where they would take the jersey and, they would say to whoever's, hey, I want you to be 8, because it represented leadership, it represented great player, the whole 9 yards. But I'm curious as if that's the tradition that they still do, or if in fact if the coaches pick. I know, like in football, for example, the 18 that's selected by kind of like a little bit of a committee in-house. I'm curious how they do 8, because I would have thought if you'd have asked me who's going to wear 8, well, Tommy White would have been somebody that, maybe Tommy White said, I don't want to wear 8. I want to wear 43. That's my number. I got a lot of jewelry with that on there because Kramer Robertson did that once. They wanted him to wear 8. He had jewelry and stuff. And he said, nah, I'm good. I don't want to wear 8. And that was the first time anyone had turned it down. And so that caused a little bit of a controversy internally. But I don't know. The Hayden Travinski pick is interesting considering, Tommy, he's not a lock to start.
No, he's not at all. I mean, well, he may be.
How many people are on this team?
Well, he may be the DH guy. Might see him at first. Might see him behind the plate. But I'm like you. I'm curious to see if what is the process of selecting 8. I'm not knocking it. It is what it is. But I think it'd be fun for the fans to know how that came to be.
Mm-hmm. I guess you popped up something there this Saturday.
The Bayou Collectibles show down in Mandeville at the Castine Center. We had Trey Ledbetter on Sports Shorts Radio this past Saturday, and Travinski and Tommy White among the many guys there doing autographs.
So if you got a lot of money, you go stand in the Tommy White line and get an autograph because he's going to be a lot more expensive than Hayden Travinski is signing autographs. But they'll both be there on Saturday at the Bayou Collectibles show, which Jose Canseco, one of the original Bayou Bash members, is going to be there. That's the guy. That's pretty cool. Full circle because I saw Jose Canseco in 1989, I believe it was. 1989. It was either fall of 89 or winter of 90, but I think it was 89 in Alexandria at the Rapides Parish Coliseum. He did a card show with his brother Ozzie, twin brother Ozzie. And that was in the heyday. I mean, they just won the World Series in 1989. So
Ozzie was in the bigs briefly.
Yeah, might have had a cup. Yeah. And anyway, they were on top of the world. I mean, I think he had just finished dating Madonna or something about that time. But they were in Rapides Parish Coliseum, and I saw him signing women's boobs. Like, women would like pull their shirt down, and he would sign it. But that's how popular he was. He had like a magic marker. It was unbelievable. I was like 18, 17 years old watching Jose do his thing.
You were trying to sign a few.
Yes. All right, so moving on. Little news and notes before we get out of here. PGA, Viktor Hovland won the BMW Championship in golf. He shoots a course record 61 on Sunday to win by 2 strokes over Scotty Scheffler and another golfer. The course record was set on Friday by Max Homa, who shot a 62. So the course record got broken twice in 3 days. Viktor Hovland, unbelievable. A friend of mine put $150 on Viktor Hovland on Wednesday or Thursday to win the tournament. So he cashed a ticket, I think about $2,800, Tommy.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So, they tore that course up a little bit, especially Homa and Hovland. And Hovland gets to win, and he gets even more money than that, Ron. So
there was a little controversy involving Max Homa, who shot a course record on Friday and then was like 2 over on Saturday.
Yeah, it really was. They got some guys that are out there live betting on their phone, and Homa had a 5 or 6 foot putt. It was either a birdie or a par, but an important putt because, again, he was in the hunt. And he's over the ball, addressed it. Any second he's about to pull the putter back, and somebody yelled, "Pull it." Somebody who had bet $3 on him to miss the putt. They yelled, "Pull it," and of course it caused him to back off, broke his concentration, whatever. And he kind of looked around. Well, he regrouped and he knocked the putt in, so the guy didn't win his bet. It also happened to Chris Kirk, another golfer who was in the hunt. They yelled out loud right before he was about to hit a putt as well. They're gonna have to do something about that. The golfers aren't going to be happy, and the live betting. But like you said before we went on the air, everybody wants to have their phone with them. You want yours, I want mine, whatever. Everybody. So they're going to have to, you're going to get ejected from the grounds. You're going to be told to leave the property, whatever. But unfortunate that would happen, and it's probably going to happen again.
All right, he's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll be back Wednesday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBear's Casino. Tell us about Court Street Cafe over there in Port Allen where you are right now.
Red beans and rice for lunch today. They got all the lunch specials posted for the whole week, dinner specials. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. A couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge, not far from downtown Baton Rouge if you work down there, or you work over here in Brewley, Port Allen area. 805 Court Street, plenty of parking. Jason and the staff do a great job. Full service bar, that's behind me right there. You can get a beverage on the way home if you want to, all that good stuff. They'll have football games on during the fall. Court Street Cafe. If you haven't checked it out already, please do so.
All right. For Tommy, I'm Ronnie. We will be back on Wednesday morning, and then we'll see you Saturday over at LeBear's Casino for Sports Shorts Radio. Please like and share this video. Have a good one, everybody.